Yes, these are technocrats, yes. But these are purely private individuals who think nothing but themselves. And for a good reason. Like I said, they are not Father Christmas. They have invested billions of dollars in this sector for profit. So you don't hand over your asset, your national asset, to such people. They have a good cause, Mr. President. Those interests that may not allow this naira for crude to, to see the light of the day. And they bring in auxiliary who has interest in the crude oil sales outside this country, and you now say they should sell their crude oil. They are the ones who frustrated the Dangote, business as far as naira for crude is concerned. It's the IOCs, and he is one of them. And the same person has investments in the oil and gas sector. So if you are now bringing somebody with that kind of huge interest to now manage the state, corporation, then what are you saying? Removing Melekari is not the solution. It's not the total solution. You're supposed to also remove the people in charge of these two sectors, these two regulatory agencies, so that you can now have a totally new face, new management that will give you the kind of results you are looking for. Remember that a government is as strong as its regulatory agencies, because all the policies of the government, the deliverable, that is the interface between the people and the government, is these regulatory agencies. So if they are not effective, if they are not well organized, if they are partial, if they are corrupt, as we have in the case of people we have now in those sectors of the economy, there's no way any government measure will take effect. In addition to that, there are issues there. The type of people that he brought on board, Mr. Ojulari and the chairman, that is Kida, and the chief, the GCEO, which is Ojulari, those people, yes, you can say they are well groomed, in the act of running the upstream sector of the Nigerian or the oil and gas sector internationally, not only Nigeria. But you see, the problem is this. These, especially the chairman, before his appointment, he was the executive vice president of the Renaissance Group, who bought the shares, about $2.4 billion of the shares of Shell Petroleum Nigeria. And the same person has investments in the oil and gas sector. So if you are now bringing somebody with that kind of huge interest to now manage the state, corporation, then what are you saying? I don't know how the man would now sacrifice their own personal interests for the sake of building the national, asset, that is the NNPCL. When NNPCL still, I don't know when they will ever go to the market, is still owned by government, because the two entities that they claim own NNPCL are the Ministry of Finance Incorporated, Federal Ministry of Finance Incorporated, and the Federal Ministry of Petroleum Resources Incorporated.
Okay, are we now saying that even the past leadership is even somehow more
of government? Well, yeah, of course.
When it comes to the conflict of interest.
When you are talking about conflict of interest, yes, we don't know, how involved is Melekari with the investments. Even though he came out some few months ago that he didn't have any investment, like Malta refineries we were talking about and all these things and what have you. And nobody has come out yet to tell us that no, you are not telling the truth. You have this investment here, you have this there. But these ones is a known. Everybody knows in this world, especially in the industry, that these guys, also have huge stake. And I don't know how. You see, we are back to square one. Which square one? When NNPC, was the regulatory agency and also the trading arm. So who is regulating who, and who is going to check who? That is the environment we are coming from, all along.
Okay, what should we expect now between the relationship between Dangote Refinery and the new management of the NNPC, talking about how ambitious some of these new leaders are?
Yeah, you see, I'm not expecting anything different from, or if not, I'm expecting something more untowards as far as the interest of Nigeria is concerned, and the Dangote, for that matter, is concerned. Because the issue of Naira, for crude, which was introduced by Mr. President, and by the way, I was interviewed in one of the other networks, and I said, well, this is a very good move by Mr. President when he announced it. But I doubt it very much if he's going to see the light of the day. Because there are stronger interests. And those interests, some people also have claimed that they have their way to Mr. President. They have a good cause to Mr. President. Those interests that may not allow this Naira for crude to see the light of the day. And they bring in auxiliary who has interest in the crude oil sales outside this country, and you now say they should sell their crude oil. They are the ones who frustrated the Dangote, business as far as Naira for crude is concerned. It's the IOCs, and he is one of them.
Nigerians should kind of expect another conflict.
Another conflict, and it's sad. It's sad that it's happening under Mr. President's watch. It's sad because he knows better than what I'm saying. He knows more because he is a player in that sector. By his own training, his experience, his businesses. He's a key player in the sector. He should know these guys. He knows what they represent, that they represent private interest. Yes, you can go to the private, sector to bring in people in order to invigorate, the state entities, but not in this manner. You don't do it this way. In a place like America, they will not allow them to come near the NNPC, to run the NNPC. No.
What is the way forward, sir?
The way forward is Mr. President, who should do the needful, making sure that Nigerians are not taken for a ride. Because if he fails to remove the man in NUPRC or the man in Nigerian Petroleum Midstream and Downstream Regulatory Commission, if he fails to remove those guys, he's not doing anything. Nothing has changed. In fact, we are worse off than where we were before. Where we were before, yes, these are technocrats, yes, but these are purely private individuals who think nothing but themselves. And for a good reason. Like I said, they are not Father Christmas. They have invested billions of dollars in this sector for profit. So you don't hand over your asset, your national asset, to such people. Well, I'm sure there are people that may not be who are well, experienced in this. Nigeria is not bereft of people who can run that enterprise. Who may not have this conflict of interest I'm talking about. Because this is an open secret. It's known if you care to check. You will find that okay. So you are now handed over, and take example of Buhari made the same mistake too when he came, when he appointed Ibe Kachuku as the GMD of NNPC. What did we see? Because I remember there was a program that was put in place by Jonathan to check the excesses of the IOCs. and the Ministry of Federal Ministry of Trade Investments to check the excesses, crude oil theft and then infractions and things like that, in the oil and gas sector. When Ibe Kachuku came, the very first thing he did was to put that program on hold. They stopped it without putting in another thing to check the excesses of the IOCs. So, at the same thing, we had this woman who was the Minister of Petroleum Resources, Diziani, who was also from, I think, the same Shell or was it Elf or something like that. She was from one of those. When she came, what happened? Nigeria lost more money. Corruption was more endemic. The IOCs, were just doing whatever they like because they now have their man there. And I remember when, in 1975, when NNPC was registered, when we started, this exploration and what have you in this country. I remember, I cannot now remember correctly, but even UN, United Nations, passed a resolution. And that resolution was to warn, countries like Nigeria that these IOCs, these international oil companies coming to your country, they are not coming to build your economy. They are business organizations. They are coming for their own profit.
Okay, in a nutshell, can we say that this appointment will fuel more corruption?
Certainly. It will be more corrupt. The system will be more corrupt because there's conflict of interest, which is known to everybody. It's not a hidden secret. Renaissance Group is known to everybody in this. And then the question is, how did they even acquire those shares?
What do you think about this issue? Join the conversation below. I'm Ibrahim Ismail. Thanks for watching The Context.